Alexis Rocha versus Giovani Santillan, 12 rounds in the welterweight division. This one is taking place in Inglewood, California. Southpaw versus Southpaw. Should be interesting. Let's get into it. Let's start with Alexis Rocha. 23 wins, 1 loss, 15 wins by way of knockout. The last 2 years have been going very well for Alexis Rocha. After his loss to Rashidi Ellis in 2020, where he just got outboxed, right? No harm in that. Ellis was a faster guy, more athletic guy, speedy jab, brilliant, effective counters. He was just super effective and efficient that night. Rocha did not get the better of Ellis on the night. So when he stepped into the ring with Blair Cobbs, I was curious to see as to how he was going to handle the speed, the movement, and just the natural athleticism that Blair Cobbs does possess, simply because he didn't fare so well with those dynamics against Rashidi Ellis, and Cobbs could do those same similar things. Rocha is a volume rhythmic fighter, and to develop all of those things, he's got to hit and find his groove, and it's hard to find your groove when you have someone who's constantly, like Cobbs, moving every single time laterally. They're just all over the place, man. And when you think you have them, they move again. They slip and they slide and they slip and they jab and they slip and they hit. Hard to hit a moving target if you do not know how to cut off the ring. Against Rashidi Ellis, I don't think he did the best job of cutting off the ring, and it was hard to hit the moving target. So it was going to show us a whole lot of different things, but Rocha needed to be patient. He definitely needed to cut off the ring and work in spots. And I thought Rocha did a very nice job doing that. Early on, Cobbs was slipping and moving and jabbing as I anticipated him to do, and fighting in spurts. I figured that, he would kind of steal the early rounds, and then Rocha, if he is not discouraged and still in the fight, that he would be able to chop Cobb down and catch him, because Blair Cobbs does make mistakes the more confidence that he gets. He intends to leave his chin up wide open, and it's easy to hit that if you can time it properly. But what I liked about that fight was the poise of Alexis Rocha. Rocha showed a mature level of poise and worked in spots. And when he was in close, he threw combos, and he was trying to anticipate where Cobb was going to be, right? He would throw the jab to make him second guess that next movement and kind of slow down some of that movement that we know Blair Cobbs is effective when he does. He needed to break Cobbs down methodically. And in the recent fights as well, too, man, I've noticed that, man, Alexis Rocha is sitting down on his shots a little better. So they're coming with a lot more steam than I've seen it come before. Now, Cobbs in the 5th round, man, he hurt him. Rocha caught him with a shot, and you could see that he was noticeably hurt, moving back on the back foot. And you could see that maybe Rocha was starting to get into him. The movement was starting to slow down a little bit. As I said, the more confidence that Cobbs gets, he tends to let his defense down a little bit. And he was landing some good shots until Rocha caught him with a shot that wobbled him back and made him retreat. And then we started to see the mistakes of Blair Cobb even more. Rocha started to connect on the shots that he was missing on in the early part of the fight. The overhand left started to connect more and more. Past the 5th round, it started to connect more and more. And a few rounds later in that 8th round, Blair Cobb got caught with the shot that he did not see coming, could not defend, and found himself on the campus. And a few moments later after that, the next round, in the 9th round, Rocha finished what he started and did not allow Blair Cobbs to get back the momentum, to get his feet under him. He completely closed out the show with a relentless pursuit of pressure, onslaught, placement in his punches, and he was able to come away with the stoppage win, man. That was the best performance that I've seen of Alexis Rocha personally, and the subtle adjustments that I've seen that he make in this fight that he didn't against Rashidi Ellis, man. You could see he's starting to really develop into that fighter that he believes that he can be, and his coaches believe that he is. Right? He's now in the top 10 in the division, and this can be a big year for him if he can continue this upward trajectory. Rocha made sure that the moment that Blair Cobbs made the mistake, he was right there to make him pay for it. And I think that's what he said in the interviews as well, too. He's going to break Cobbs down round by round. And man, he was definitely true to that statement. After Cobbs, he fought Luis Alberto Vernon and Jesus Antonio Perez. And though he didn't get the stoppage against those two, I mean, he won those fights wide, right? Both in the ring and on the scorecards. After that, he fought George Ashi earlier this year, and Ashi has a lot of heart and will, but respectfully, man, he was a big punching bag in that fight. I mean, he was taking a lot of shots, a lot of punishment early. It was noticeably to see who was the bigger man by far. The pressure was about to be too much. Rocha was connecting consistently. However he wanted to land a shot, it looked like whatever he threw was getting through, and we saw ultimately what happened in that fight, and that knockout of the year candidate, you could even say. After that, he goes to fight Anthony Young. And I thought it was interesting because in the presser and the interviews, Anthony Young was saying, man, Alexis Rocha can't crack an egg. Oh, that's fighting words. You can't say that. You know what I'm saying? That's fighting words. And interestingly enough, Anthony Young, he got his egg cracked. He got hit a lot that fight from a whole bunch of different angles in every way. Every shot that Alexis Rocha was putting forth was connecting. And once he got him on the ropes, man, Rocha's timing and placement in his punches have gotten so much better. It's at a very elite level right now, man. And he's confident. And when he knows his opponent is hurt, he knows how to control the moment and to close out the show. If he does get there, man, he's been able to close out the show in convincing and beautiful fashion in these recent fights. It was another good performance from Rocha, though. So I'm expecting him to show that same version of Rocha in this fight, man. He's confident. He believes in himself. He's got the good team around him. He's consistent. He's been getting better. Volume is good, man. He's in a good spot, right? And he will need to continue to keep on winning in order to work his way up to that title shot and continue to get some big fights moving forward. There's a lot at stake here. Sometimes when you're on such a great winning streak, sometimes you have a down fight. Will this be Alexis Rocha's down fight? I don't know. We will see. I'm not anticipating it to be, but I'm just saying it does happen. Giovani Santillan will be looking to take that momentum away from him and give him a second loss, and he continue his winning ways. But let's talk about him, Giovani Santillan, 31 wins, no losses, 16 wins by way of knockout. Santillan, man, he's been a much different fighter since he switched coaches. He's now working with Robert Garcia. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think they're still working together, but correct me if I'm wrong in that aspect. I think they're still working together. When he fought Antonio DeMarco a few years back, man, it was a closer fight than it wasn't really supposed to be a close fight. I mean, Anthony DeMarco has some good wins on his resume, right? Solid record, 35, but he had 8 losses, man. And that was a fight where he was supposed to assert himself and show who is the better fighter. Until the fight started, you kind of realize, man, that was a back and forth close fight. And a lot of people thought DeMarco won that fight. And you can make a case of that when you watch the tape. Santillan didn't look good on the inside. His defense looked a little sloppy. In some rounds, he completely got outworked and got caught with the same shot over and over again, but he did get the win. So we move on. Fast forward to when he fought Julio Luna. It was a much better performance. Luna had the height advantage and the reach advantage, and Luna is a good, solid fighter with a good jab and a nice pop in his shots. That man can box, right? He was on the back foot early in the fight. Santillan was pushing the pace of the fight, letting his hands go, combinations. That was the case in the early part of the fight. But in the second half of the fight, things started to change a little bit. He became a little predictable with what he was doing in his approach. He wasn't moving his head off the line. He wasn't feinting anymore. It looked like he slowed down. Maybe he was getting tired. I don't think he expected Luna to be as good and as tough as a challenge as he thought. And Luna was undefeated at that point, right? And Luna was boxing and jabbing, and it got to a point where it looked like he couldn't miss with his shots, man. I mean, he was slipping in underhand shots, overhand shots, pushing the left or the right hand down the middle, and it was clipping Santillan. He was just coming forward and trying to walk through it, but you could see it was starting to slow him down a little bit. Santillan was cut. I believe it was from a head clash nonetheless, but the cut was on the eye. And after we saw the cut, man, he just looked very hesitant, right? He's always going to fight to the end. He's got a very, very good chin, and he was landing shots in spurts. He bounced back in the 9th round and looked like he was starting to be the aggressor again, letting his hands go a little bit more with confidence. And he did get the win. It was a unanimous decision win, but personally, man, I don't think that was a unanimous decision win. That was a very tough fight to score. I think it would have been fair for a split decision or a draw for either guy. I could see if you had Luna winning or if you had Santillan winning. Nonetheless, it was a better performance from Giovani Santillan. You could see some of the things that he was working on and implementing and trying to do. He was having success with it, but he was still having some problems in certain areas. In his most recent fight, he fought Eric Bonnet, and I saw a more patient fighter from Santillan, sitting back and watching the opening and taking what was given to him. Santillan, I thought that fight fought a much more balanced fight. Sometimes he'd box on the outside. Other times he'd press the pace on the inside, push, and try to overwhelm and impose his will on his opponent and let his hands go. He doesn't have a problem with letting his hands go once he is in range and feels comfortable. However, man, again, it was another close fight. Some rounds were back and forth. I thought Bonnet won a good portion of the first half of the fight, but Santillan came back and stole some of the momentum and started to target the eye of bone of Bonnet that started to close up. And I think that's when Santillan started to say, hey, man, I can hurt this guy, and started to let his hands go a little bit more. But credit to Bonnet for how he fought. He was counter punching very well with good pop and made it tough for Santillan to have his way, for him to get comfortable and him to get into his rhythm. But Santillan did enough to win the fight. But I saw Santillan box a little bit more in that fight than I've seen him in previous fight, more than him just coming forward and trying to be physical with his opponent and impose his will with volume. So who wins? I like Alexis Rocha in this fight, man. Santillan is tough. He's got a great chin. He's durable. He's improved in areas as well, too, but he's still a little too easy to get hit for me. He's still not really moving his head off the line, whereas Rocha isn't the best defensive fighter either, but at least he's moving his head a little bit more and throwing feints. He's just more consistent in certain areas than Santillan is. I also think offensively, Rocha can do a little bit more in his bag, right? He's a little less predictable and a bigger puncher, and he's more accurate and ultimately sharper to me right now. But I'm expecting a lot of volume. I'm expecting big punches from both men. I'm expecting a heavy amount of shots being thrown from different angles, and I'm expecting this fight to go the full distance. So I have Alexis Rocha winning this fight by decision. What are your thoughts on this fight? Who do you have winning this one? Let me know in the comment section below. If you're enjoying the content, enjoying the videos, getting something from it, if you would like to support the channel, there's a couple ways that you can do so. You can like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to support by way of donation, then I hope that you consider becoming a member. We got 2 different tiers, 2 different options. Or if you'd like to support by way of donation, you can find my Cash App handle on screen, PayPal in the comment section below. Any amount goes towards the growth of this channel and will be greatly appreciated. Shout out to everybody that continues to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, man. I appreciate each of you. It is always love. So with all that being said, if you've been watching the video, do me a favor and subscribe to the channel, and we'll definitely see you next time.